Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of the Big East Rewind. I'm Chuck Everson, your 7-foot host from Villanova University, and my partner, as always, my point guard, my main man, my dentist, the doctor, Sonny Sparrow. How are you, Sonny?
Doing great, Chuck. I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, it's going to be fun today. It's going to be fun today. So, just before we get rolling, let me ask you, who were some of the toughest guys that you had to play against in the Big East back in the day?
Definitely Pinkney, definitely Ewan.
You're giving away the secrets, man. You're giving it away. Go ahead, Sonny.
All right, so you're asking me. Okay, sorry, Walter.
Well, listen, that just blows the whole shtick, but it's good because that's how this is what it's gonna be. It's gonna be fun, and that's how it's all about. So let me just cut to the chase, Sonny. Okay? Go ahead. Who are the guys?
All right, I got to go with my guards. So I'm going to go Michael Adams, John Bagley, Chris Mullins, Mark Jackson.
All right.
David Wingate,
guys.
Reggie Williams.
All right. Okay.
Carl, Ernie, all those guys.
Okay.
How about you?
Well, I don't know. I'm trying to think. You want answers? Huh?
I want the truth from you.
You want the truth? Well, we have the truth. You just heard him. He's here with us. I don't think you can handle the truth, though, Sonny, because I'm telling you right now, I know the Villanova Wildcats couldn't handle the truth. That was a problem for us, and that was a big deal in 1985. We're going to get into all of that today. So let me, without any further ado, my main man from a St. John standout, 1986 College Player of the Year. Sonny, he won every single Player of the Year award, from the Wooden Award to the Kodak and everything in between. He was drafted by the Portland Trailblazers as the 14th pick in the first round. Long, successful European career in Italy and Greece. New York City basketball legend, Sonny, playground legend. The truth, Walter Berry. How are you, Walt?
I'm doing well, Chuck. I'm doing well.
Good to see you, Walter. Mr. Smooth.
Yeah, my man. Oh, look at you. You're sitting on your throne in the castle there. It looks great, man.
I know. It's like royalty, man. We got royalty.
I know. Listen, people have been asking about you, like we were saying just off air before we started. People were asking about you and what you're doing and how you're doing. So thank you so much, before we get started, for coming out and hanging out with us for a little bit tonight. We really appreciate your time, man. And we've had a lot of your teammates on, and everybody's asking for you. So, appreciate you coming out.
Anytime, Chuck. I'm here for you.
My man. Okay, so first of all, I got to ask you, who nicknamed you the Truth, and when did that happen?
If you want, I'm going to give you the truth to that. Mark Jackson named me the Truth. The reporters was asking him, is Walter Berry really that good? Is he the truth? And Mark was like, yes, Walter is the truth.
There you go. Wow.
Give me that name. I'm going to give him that one.
Okay. Hey, listen, it's stuck for all these years, Walt, right? I mean, yes. Everybody knows that's one of the greatest nicknames in the history of the Big East, I think, right up there with Easy Ed. Don't you think, Sonny?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, Pearl, right there, I'm going to say Pearl's pretty good.
Pearl's pretty good, too. Absolutely. And I know that's one of Walt's boys. We're going to talk about that, too. So, all right, let's kick it off, man. Listen, the first thing I want to ask you about, and I talked to you a little bit about it in the street when we ran into each other at the Big East tournament. You played against me in the Newsday Classic. You remember that game when we were in high school? Right. And it was, it was the Long Island versus New York City, and you guys had a stacked team. Do you remember who was on that team with you?
I don't really remember much.
Okay, I'll give you the list. Kenny the Jet Smith, the Pearl, Roger McCready, Spider Sally, Derek Chivas, Greg Harvey, Elmer Anderson, and several others that went on to greatness. And we had Greg Wilds, we had Timmy Kempton. I think Tim was the only guy that actually played any kind of time in the NBA. Russell Pierre, AJ Winder, and we played that game at the Nassau Coliseum. I'll never forget it because you and Pearl put on a show as you usually did back then, but it was a little crazy because I remember Pearl making a steal and throwing a bounce pass from half court that you caught. And thank God I wasn't in the game at the time because you caught it, rocked it once or twice, and threw it down backwards right on my man, Tim Kempton. So I remember that. You don't remember any of that game?
I remember. It's all coming back now. I remember that. And I remember, didn't Tim Kempton go to Notre Dame?
He certainly did. Yeah.
Okay. They said when after that game, Notre Dame almost changed their mind about Tim Kempton.
Is that right?
I remember that.
Well, listen, I can't say as I would have blamed him.
Wasn't a good look for him.
Wasn't a good look, and listen, Tim and I were a little bit of a rival back then, but I have no beef with Tim at all. I like Tim. He's a good dude. He does a lot of public service stuff for the Phoenix Suns today in his after pro life, But I can understand that because you guys whooped up on us. I think it was a 21-point game or something. I think Daryl just pulled it up. I think it was a 21-point game. But man, that was and then we got to play again, Walt, in the Athletes for Better Education camp. You remember that camp? That was like the first ABCD camp. We had to go to school during the day, and then we played at night. And everybody who was anybody was there playing. That was a lot of fun, that camp. That was I think it was at Concordia College. We played.
I remember.
Yeah. Listen, all the guys that I had mentioned just now, plus numerous others, anybody who could play at all was there, and that was a lot of fun. The guy I think that ran that was a guy named Rich Cossack, and it was the first ever ABCD camp. So that was an interesting experience because it was 3 days, Sonny, of balling, but you had to go to school too. They treated it like we were in class, right, Walt?
Yeah, they treated it like school for sure.
Yep. So, all right. So go ahead.
I want to ask you a question. I want to go back a little further though. When you were younger, when did you pick up the game, and were there any other sports that were of interest to you when you were younger?
A lot of people don't know this, but I was into gymnastics when I was young, and this haven't ever been brought up before. And
breaking news, Sonny.
Thinking about it, I'm comfortable. I can talk about it a little better, but I was into gymnastics. That was my sport. That was what I loved.
Wow, well, it explains your grace around the basket. That's for darn sure.
Oh yeah.
Maybe
wow.
So how did that transition from one to the other? When did you start playing ball?
One of my childhood friends was always playing basketball, and I was on the gymnastics. We was on the mats doing flips and doing all the gymnastic stuff. And he was like, why don't you come over and play some basketball? You look like you're gonna be tall. I said, I guess I'll come on over and play with you guys, because it looks fun. And I think I was like probably 9, 10 years old at this time. And that's how it started.
That's great.
Who would have thought that? I don't. That's very unique. But I'm sure it helped you with your upper body strength and everything, doing flips and back handstands and all these kind of things that the gymnasts do. That had to help you on the basketball court, didn't it?
I think it really helped me. It helped my balance. It helped a lot. It helped my jumping ability. I think it helped a whole lot.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. There's no way I was doing gymnastics, Sonny. I could tell you that right now. No, absolutely. Well, no coordination, man.
Some of the moves that you could pull off were the reason they look so effortless, probably because they were effortless.
I think the gymnastics stuff really helped, and it was a graceful sport. Gymnastics, I love watching it today. Like when I see them young girls out there doing them round off, back handspring, back summies, full twists, Arabians, it just touches me. It still touches me today, because that's the sport that I really loved as a kid, and I couldn't pursue it because I started growing so fast.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. How about that, Sonny? That's unbelievable.
Exclusive on the Big East Rewind.
Exclusive.
Baby.
Another exclusive, Sonny. How about that? That's why they call us professional journalists, Sonny.
We are professional journalists.
I'm not going to lie.
That's right.
So, okay. So in high school now you start to play. Were you out in the park? Were you one of those guys in the park every day playing? Besides going to,
I stayed in the park from 7 in the morning till maybe 10 at night.
Where was the best runs at that time, Walt?
In the Bronx, Ogden Avenue. They called it Ogden Park and the Nelson Park. Those were some of the best runs that I think improved my game because they had some of the greatest playground legends around.
So
Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know if you ever heard of Cornbread.
Oh yeah.
This is Troy Truesdale's brother. He was one of the greats.
Wow. And you just jump on a subway and just get to where you're going and back home, right?
No, that was like 5 minutes walking from my house.
Oh, really? Okay.
I lived in the Bronx young.
Okay. Because I was going to say, because I thought you were a Queens guy, but I wasn't sure. I didn't know where you grew up. So in the Bronx.
I'm going to set the record for you.
Yeah.
And they haven't got that right since college.
I know they haven't gotten it right.
Born in Harlem Hospital, from Harlem.
Okay.
Moved to the Bronx at 7 years old.
Okay.
Well,
wow. So
who are some of the
honey.
guys that you played high school ball with then?
I played with a guy called Derek Robinson. I don't know if y'all remember a guy named Kenny Hutchison.
Kenny, yeah.
Kenny Hutchison. Gary Stringer and Richie Adams had already graduated. So we were up next.
Kenny Hutchinson, I believe, was in the recruiting class that Coach Carnesecca talked about, isn't it? With Pearl, Hutchinson, and Kenny Smith.
Yeah, they were all in and around the same time. Yep.
And Mark Jackson.
Mark was behind them. Yep. Yeah, that was all around the same time, Sonny. So who were some of the guys that you? So in other words, back then, I know in Long Island there was no real AAU thing at that time. I know there's Riverside, and I don't think the Gauchos had started yet, but I know Riverside Church had a team. I know Eddie played with them a little bit. Mully played with them a little bit. But so you basically had to learn the game playing in the parks in the street. So
yeah, but I went on and played with Riverside Church also with those.
Oh,
guys.
You did? Okay, yeah. So you played with Chris and Eddie and those guys?
They were the older guys. I was a little younger than them, so I played on the younger team. With Smith, matter of fact.
Did Andre played for Riverside, right? Didn't he? Andre Hawkins?
No, I don't remember him playing there.
So. No,
I don't think so.
He did.
No. That's Riverside was really a city thing, Sonny. Hawk was out on the island with us. I mean, so I would run into him in the parks and stuff, but it was more of a city thing, the Riverside Church. And they to this day they still have good teams. Walt, I mean, if you're on that circuit, they still have good teams, and the Gauchos. They're still balling out.
There used to be some battles, Chuck. I tell you, some battles when Riverside against Gauchos and Pearl with Gauchos and Kenny Smith and Kenny Hutch. It was some exploding games.
Yeah, talk about that for a second, man. Talk about the kinds of crowds you guys had, and that's how you guys all learned to play in front of a bunch of folks. When you were in a young age, when you're out there playing against the Gauchos in the parks or in the Gaucho gym or Riverside Church, there was always packed houses there to see you guys play, right?
Yes, it was definitely packed house. Everybody wanted to see the Pearl. He was doing things that men was doing, and he was a boy.
Yeah. We had Elmer on. We did a show on Pearl. We had Elmer on, and we had his coach, and we had his sister come on, and they talked about him at length. Growing up and playing ball in the streets and stuff. And listen, to me, and I don't know, I'd like to hear your opinion. To me, I think AAU kind of ruins the game because if you're in the park, right, and you lose, you got to wait. You could wait 4 or 5 games to get back on the court. In AAU, they play so many games. They play 6 or 7 games a weekend, and they practice once during the week. And it's just like, okay, next game. There's no importance put on winning and losing. You know what I mean? You agree with that?
I agree with that because, like you said, you got to wait 4 or 5 games before, if you lose, to get back on the court again. So you didn't want to lose. You picked your team, picked the winning team so you could stay on all day.
Right.
And that was the key to that.
Exactly.
Walter, when did you first meet Pearl?
I met Pearl in high school, and we became really, really good friends. Even though we scrimmaged boys and girls high, and right after that, after the game, Pearl grabbed me and we get to talking, and we became really good friends. Syracuse made it to the Final Four that year when they had it in Atlanta, Georgia. Do you remember that? Any of that?
I do. I was supposed to go, and something came up. Yeah.
Pearl called me up and told me coming to Atlanta. He's getting ready to make his flights. I said, you got to stay at my house. You can't, no way I'm going to let you stay at no hotel. He said, will you go to the game with me? I said, St. John's not in it. Probably not, but we'll see. But I ended up going to the game with Pearl. He stayed with me. His wife, father came, and they stayed with me. And that's the last time I really saw Pearl, to be honest with you. At that Final Four, we hung out and we got a chance to see each other. That was the first time in a lot of years we saw each other again.
Yeah. He was such a good guy too. I mean, forget about how great he was on the court. I mean, he was much more of a better, humble guy. You know, when you see him, he'd always have a hug for you, say hello. And, you know, I spoke with him, like a week before he passed away, a week or 10 days before he passed away. You know, Raph was in the room with him, Addison, and a couple of the boys were there, and they put him on, and we spoke a little bit, and it was good to hear him. So it was, he was a special guy, man, on and off the court. And I'm, you know, people don't realize what kind of guy he was. They all know how great he was on the floor, but, you know, as to what kind of guy he was, they don't really know the people like that. So
you had to know him. Like,
oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. So
I've ever met.
He is. He's running. He's one of them. Yeah, exactly. So let me ask you this. So now you get, you know, you're ready to go. You're getting out of high school, okay? And you wind up in San Jacinto. Talk about your path that you took from high school in the city to get to St. John's. Talk about that for a minute, because I think it's interesting. You know, your path was a lot different than most, but when you got to St. John's, I think you made the most of your opportunity more than just about anybody else I could think of, you know, in the 2 years that you played. Talk about that for a second.
St. John's was one of the only schools that was really recruiting me at this time. And I didn't have the grades I needed to go in. So they was like, St. John's had a program.
Right.
Go to this program, get 24 credits. You automatically, the next year, you still got 4 years to play. So I did everything, studied, tutors, the whole 9 yards, and everything went well. I passed all the classes I needed to pass. And right after that, the NCAA denied it.
Wow.
And said, no, this program, and it was, we had a big court case going on, the whole 9, and I told St. John's, forget the court case. I'm just going to go to junior college, play 1 year, and just come on back after that. And that's the story to that. And I went to San Jacinto, and I was so angry at this time going to San Jacinto because I was really looking forward to playing for St. John's.
Sure.
And I took my frustrations out on the court. And that was, you know, it was like unbelievable because I was scoring like 35 points, 14, 15 rebounds, 5 block shots a game. I hold all the records there at San Jacinto to this day.
Where is San Jacinto? It's in Texas, right?
Pasadena, Texas.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you were there for 1 season?
1 season.
Okay. And so you already had it predetermined when you went there that you were going to go to St. John's when you got out.
I felt like I had something to prove to New York and the world by coming back to St. John's because everybody was recruiting me after that. I couldn't get no recruits. I couldn't get recruited to no school when I was in high school because I didn't have the grades. But once I got my grades together and really focused and getting that together, all the other colleges came out of nowhere. I think I had something like 200 offers to go to to go to just about every school in the world.
Right. Wow. That's some story to tell the kids, and you know, as you're working with kids and stuff, right? Well, I mean, you know, you worked your ass off. I mean, it didn't happen. No, nothing was given to you. You know, you worked your ass off, and this is what happened. Look at the success you got out of that. I mean, that's pretty special, man. That doesn't happen to a lot of. Some people would just throw their hands up. You know, you get people on that side, and you get people like yourself who are determined and worked hard, and look at what happened. It all paid off for you in the end, right?
It paid off. Let me tell you a funny story though. Larry Brown was coming to San Jacinto every week. He was there, and I felt bad for the guy. So I kind of like, Coach Brown, listen, if this was under different circumstances, I probably would have ended up coming to Kansas. But I decided that I needed to be in New York with my family. My family's there. I wanted to help my family out and be around. And I never forget the way he looked. And he never came back after that. And this story going to move on once he became the coach at San Antonio when I was playing for the Spurs. I led the team in scoring. I don't know if you remember that, Chuck. I led the team in scoring for 2 years, and Larry Brown came in after that. And the first thing he said to me was, remember when I was trying to recruit you down at San Jacinto? And I said, Coach Brown, I just wanted to go back and be with my family. Next thing I knew, I was traded. The next hour, 2 hours, I was traded.
Wow. So he took that personal then, Walter.
I think he took it really personal.
Wow.
Oh, that shit runs deep. Wow.
Wow.
It runs really deep. And
wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
A lot of people don't know that. So the general manager, which was Bob Bash from the San Antonio Spurs at this time.
Okay. Yeah.
What did you do to Coach Brown? I said, I didn't go to Kansas.
Wow. Oh, I that's unbelievable to me. You know,
that's a true story.
I have no doubt, Walt. You know, I mean, listen, you know, I've heard, you know, it becomes like I guess with these coaches, it becomes like a personal thing. But a lot of guys, you know, take it and say, okay, I didn't get this guy, I didn't get that guy. But when he saw you play after, he said, oh, I had that guy. He should have came with me, and maybe took it personally that you left. But
yeah. But
listen,
you know what though?
It was all for your own reasons. It shouldn't matter really to a guy like that, you know. You know.
But you were man up, and you told him right up front, here's the deal. You didn't string him along, which I would have been right. It would have been a different story if there was that kind of stuff going on.
Wow.
I told him, because I felt bad he was coming up there every day. And my coach was like, is there a chance you want to even go visit? I said, I'm going back to St. John's. My mind is made up. And it was some loyalty that St. John's was the only one that stuck with me through that process.
Yeah.
I got out of high school.
Yeah, and they had your back. I mean, they didn't know that the program, you know, the problem was it wasn't affiliated or whatever. That they did everything that they could do to help you.
He still has your back.
Yeah, and you're still beloved there. I mean, you know, it's great. It really is. So now you're at
the Big East, and it was the
Big East. That's it. Now you're at St. John's, and your first season, they make a run to the Final Four, and you guys and Georgetown were number 1 or 2 all year long. Talk about that season for a minute. You know, tell us some stories that come to your mind from that magical season, because it culminated with 3 teams in the Final Four, which has never been done before or since. You know, and I thought maybe the Big East could have duplicated that this year, but that didn't happen. But talk about that season and what that was like.
That was an incredible season for me. I didn't know what to expect when I came to St. John's. I just wanted to come and show that I belong. And I had to really gel with this team and get along with some of these guys basketball-wise, especially Chris. Me and Chris was both lefties.
Yeah.
They put us both on the same side, and we made it happen from the St. John standpoint of gelling together.
Well, you know what's funny is Bill Winnington and Ronnie Stewart both said the difference that St. John's had was when Walter Berry came. They became a championship caliber team. We didn't prod them. They both said it. So
yeah,
a lot of props, a lot of kudos.
Yeah, well, they were good the year before, and then then it took off once you stepped on the floor with them.
I just wish I was there a year before, and I believe we would have been playing in the finals. We just needed more time because that was one year we had to put this team together.
Yeah, well, listen, I know, our guys talk about this all the time because I'm close with the guys on our Villanova 85 team, and we all say every time we're together, if you get anybody, if you grabbed anybody individually or all of us together, we were just thankful we didn't have to play you in the Final Four, because you beat us 3 times that year. We had no answer for the lefties, for you and Chris. I mean, I remember a game, and we talked about this at the Big East for a minute. I remember a game, we were playing at Coneseco Arena, which it was called Alumni Hall back then, right?
Yes.
And I go, and we shared the training room, and I walk in, and you're in a tub up to your neck, in one of those silver tubs and I go, what are you doing? You go, I'm soaking. I'm getting ready to go out and whip you whip your ass. I said, wait a minute. I put my finger in the tub. I said, how? I said, that thing is hot as hell. He goes, yeah, it's 104 degrees, you said. And I go, stay there as long as you want. I'm thinking you're going to get zapped of what you come out and get 36. And we get our doors blown off at Alumni Hall. Was that something you did every game? You soak like that in a hot tub? Or was that for special occasions when you want to, take care of business against the Cats?
This special occasions, not special occasions.
Yeah, I kind of thought
you had to do that.
Yeah.
He's been talking about this for 2 years. You had to
do
it?
Yeah, because I was amazed, Sonny. I go, listen, the guy's sitting in 104-degree water for at least a half an hour. Because I was in there, it was guys getting taped. So I'm waiting my turn to get taped. And Walt's in there hanging out, listening to his tunes, Okay.
You realize what he just said, right? He said, he kind of took it easy and he still dropped 36 on you.
Listen, I know what he said. I know what he said, Sonny. You know what? He's not wrong. He speaks the truth, okay? No pun intended. So, so talk about some of those rivalries, Walt, back then in the Big East. That conference was so good back then. We could have had actually 4 teams in the Final Four. Boston College was close. Talk about the rivalries and some of the matchups that gave you a hard time. It wasn't too many, I know, but
that Georgetown rivalry gave me a hard time. I gotta be honest with you about that. And like you said before, we were switching out to be number 1 and number 2 in the country at that time.
Yeah.
And that rivalry was really tough. And once Patrick Ewing and Chris Mullins and them left to go to the NBA, I just dominated college after that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Most times I didn't have no answers, but to talk about what you just brung up, it was some rivalries. Boston College was good. Villanova was good. That I had when we played against you guys, Villanova. Presley, he really gave me a run for my money too. He was pretty good.
I think if he was sitting here, he'd be a little surprised to hear you say that, to be honest with you. I really do.
And Syracuse.
Yeah.
Who was your matchup with us, Walter? Was it Wendell? Was it Ronnie Cycli, or was it Ronnie or Andre? Because they played together my senior year.
You talking about with Syracuse?
Yeah.
It was Wendell Alexis.
Wendell, yeah, that's what I thought.
Wendell Alexis, yes.
Yeah, that's a good matchup.
There's one game from that season I got to ask you about because I can't even believe that it happened. Okay, how the heck with that team did you lose to Niagara, bro? How did that happen?
It was almost like that was a fairy tale game for Niagara, and we all went in the locker room like looking at each other like, are we really this good or not? Because when Niagara beat us, I couldn't believe it. They were hitting shots from everywhere. They played the best basketball I think they played in a whole 4 years of college.
Yeah, right, exactly.
It was the number 1 team in the country. but it was a heat check for us, you know, that we had to really get on our game and get to really gelling and really playing. We wasn't gelling at that time. We was just trying to figure everybody out. And this team came out with like revenge. They just wanted to just beat us. It was in their eyes. You could look at them guys and tell they just wanted to beat us.
Yeah.
How about did you have any interactions with David Russell? Like, did he come back? Did you guys do anything? Did he kind of mentor you a little bit?
Became one of my good friends, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to come to St. John's as well, because David Russell was like a high jumper, high flyer, and I used to be amazed with some of the dunks he used to do, and he inspired me to want to come to St. John's also. Him and Billy Goodwin, and I can't forget Kevin Williams either. Kevin Williams is a Harlem guy, and all of them, I saw the way people treated these guys in Harlem, and I wanted the same attention.
Yeah, and Dave also was a lefty like yourself too. I mean, very similar game, you know, it was up above the rim and all that kind of stuff, you know. Yeah, I mean, it was yeah, those guys have been good for a long time, and and those.
David graduates and then walks Walter. Like, are you kidding me?
Right? Are you kidding me? Yeah, right. Exactly. It was like, you know, it was like a step. I think, you know, I don't think Dave would disagree with me if he was sitting here, because I know Dave. You know, it was, your game was like his, but it wasn't like his. It was a step up from his game. You know, I mean, and then you come in, and all of a sudden the whole thing changes. Everything changes. You know, the way they carried themselves. I think you only lost, if I'm not mistaken. Well, correct me if I'm wrong. You guys only lost to 2 teams that year, right? I mean, you only lost to Georgetown and the Niagara game, you know. And the Niagara game, let's call it what it was. You know, it was a fluke, you know. I mean, but the Georgetown team, man, those guys seem to have your number, and you guys seem to have our number, you know, and that's the way it seemed to go. You know, talk about the big the sweater game at the Garden with when Thompson came out with the T-shirt on to mimic Coach Lou.
Hey, that was a funny moment, man, and we all was laughing about it because Coach came out with his sweater that was his good luck sweater, and John Thompson seemed like, I'm gonna wear the same sweater because I know I'm gonna break the spell.
Yeah,
and like I said, it was just a funny moment, man, when they both had on that St. John's same sweater at St. John Georgetown game.
Yeah.
What did you feel about Georgetown at the time? Because I know that they had no love lost among the league, and there was a fight every night. I know you guys got into it a bit with them. What was your feelings playing those guys?
I think they were the bullies of the Big East. They were the bullies, and everybody,
that was their reputation.
Yeah, they were the bullies, and you know, being from New York, being from Harlem, I always felt like them guys put their pants on just like I do. So I didn't fear no man. So I went out and played hard as I could every night against them and everybody else.
Who was your toughest people that you played against in the Big East? Who were some of your toughest matchups? And
like we talked about early, we're gonna say Ed Pinckney, Presley, Pat Ewing. It was all of these guys that was good.
Yeah, I mean, it was, every night was a battle, man, and especially when you guys were at the Garden. I mean, listen, you know, that's got to be, for you guys, that was a home court advantage. Come on, Walt. I mean, we're going to play at the Big East tournament, and St. John's is at home, and they're good. They're in the top 1 or 2 teams in the country. That was like complete madness. That might have been the most electric. You know, Sonny and I talk about this all the time. You know, going to the Garden and playing there for the Big East tournament, how much fun that was and how exciting that was to be in there. But for when St. John's was in the finals, it was a whole different level of excitement, because you were New York's team, you know, the city and all that. And then you're playing against Patrick and his guys. Talk about what that was like when you're walking into the Garden. I know you're a New York guy. I know what the Garden means to a guy like you. So talk about that.
The Garden was electrifying, man. And when we walked in there, it was like people just went crazy. And just stepping on the floor was just amazing, you know? And it was almost like you said, that was our home.
Yeah.
Now,
a little different when you were playing in the NBA walking in there than when you were playing in the Big East tournament walking in there, though, right?
A lot different. A lot of boos, a lot
of yeah, right, exactly. That's true.
Now, I'm gonna bring up a bad moment in Syracuse history.
Okay.
All right. Big East final. Pearl's got it. We got the ball in the hands of the guy we wanted. Going to the hole. What happened?
I had to block his shot and win the game. And I knew exactly
I had to.
where Pearl was going. You know what Coach Carnesecca said in the locker room when we first got back in the locker room after the game? He said, "I've never saw you run that fast back on defense."
Okay, I feel a little better.
That was timed perfectly.
I knew exactly where Pearl was going.
I knew you did.
Yeah. Well, listen, you know him since you're a kid. I mean, you know what he does, you know.
And you knew what hand he was going to use.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. How about Carnesecca's reaction when you blocked that shot? He came running out, pumping his fist, jumping up in the air. You know, he had more hops that day than a lot of his players. I mean, he got off the ground.
Yeah, we never seen an Italian jump that high like that.
Never, you know.
Hey,
no.
Coach had some moments though, a few games where he was jumping high.
Well, listen, now that you mentioned Coach, talk about your relationship with him. I know we talked prior to coming on today, and I know you went, and I told you when I saw you in New York that you needed to go see him, and you did. You took me up on my advice, and you went and saw Coach when you were in New York. Talk about your relationship with him back then and what it is today.
Like, I'm going to tell you, back then, he came in as a father figure, and I needed that at that time because I had never got so close to a coach until Carnesecca. And he kind of, you know, after the game, if it was any problems, he sat me down and talked to me like I was his kid, you know?
Yeah.
And that was just truly amazing. And I was like, this coach really, really loved me. And finally, you said when after I left school and was going on my journey, it was weird because when I first went to Europe, I called Coach and said, "What you think?" You know what Coach used to tell me? "Walter, you still got all your fingers, you still got your hands, you still got your legs, you still can make money. So go play basketball and do what you love to do, what you always love to do." Right. And I always kept that in the back of my mind throughout my journey in Europe.
Do you have a Coach Carnesecca impersonation?
It's hard to impersonate Coach, I'm gonna tell you.
Right, he's got that voice. It's tough.
Yeah, he's like, yeah. He had some crazy expressions. Ron Stewart came on and said to us, one day a feather duster, the next day, one day a peacock, the next day a feather duster. You remember him saying any kind of crazy things like that?
Coach always had his sayings, though. He always had his sayings. What I want to say is one coach, the assistant coach that stuck by me as well, Ronnie Rutledge. Ronnie.
Yep.
We still friends till today, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And Ronnie always kept me whole and kept me thinking about every move. Like when it was a big game, he always came and said, "Walter, the lights is on. You know what you got to do." He always prepared me for the big games. If I was a little down, by the time I got through talking to Coach Rutledge, I was up.
He was the go-to guy for you guys, right?
Yeah.
Say that again, Sonny. I'm sorry.
You needed to get in the hot tub. That's what you needed to do.
Yeah, you need to get in the hot tub. Yeah. So he was the go-to guy for you guys, right? When Louis got on everybody and yelled and screamed, he was the guy that kind of said, "Hey, it's cool, you know, just do this. Don't, you know." Sonny's guy was Bernie Fine. Our guy was, you know, Marty Marbach. You know, Marty's still that guy for us, you know, all these years later, you know. Wow. So it's every team has got that guy. So that's good. And Ron was everywhere. I remember when he was recruiting, man, every time I turned around, Ron was in the gym, and he's one of the good guys.
He lived in Pasadena, Texas.
Oh, really? Yeah, I bet he did. I bet he did.
Pasadena, Texas, when I was at San
Yeah.
And the weird thing about it, I remember him and Brown was there together. And I told my coach, Ronnie Arrow, I said, Coach, I'm not coming in the gym with both of them near like that, I just, so my coach held a practice for a while, talked to both of the guys, and then we had practice later on, like probably an hour or two later.
Wow.
You know when it hit me, Walter, that the Big East was really, really, really different was when Pearl at his wake, in came Coach Carnesecca with his two assistants, and it was like there was an aura, like it all was going to be good. And Boeheim was there, and just to see that interaction and the different players and the different people and the different teams, just with so much respect and admiration, it was impressive.
Yeah, that was tough, man.
It was tough, but it was a fun run. I gotta tell you, I think about those days like it was yesterday, and I gotta thank Sweps for bringing me to March Madness on the 14th through the 16th those days, because I got back to being in my element of basketball. And I want to give a shout out to Eddie Lopez and definitely Charles Smith and the whole Sweats family.
Yep.
They really embraced me and brought me back to the Garden. And it was just, my heart was racing half the time that I was there because all the memories came back.
Charlie Smith's a special guy.
Yeah. How great a guy is Charlie, man?
Special guy.
Charles Smith is a great guy, man. And I knew him a little bit, but not as well as I did. I got to know him running with him with Sweats. We went and did signed autographs in Brooklyn and Queens. And he's just like a great guy.
Yeah. We had him on the show. He was an entrepreneur before anybody knew what that was, really. You know what I mean? He really was.
One of the brightest guys I've ever talked to.
Yeah, sharp dude, man. Really,
very
really
sharp. And he's really running around, still making his moves and still doing the things he's doing to keep his lifestyle where he wanted at. Charles Smith is just a great guy. And I was hoping that I would have got drafted by the Knicks and ended up playing with him for a little while, but the Knicks didn't take me when draft time came.
So the Knicks, you got picked by by Portland, right? Number 14. So where were the Knicks in that draft? And
they had number 5, and Hubie Brown was the coach. And Hubie Brown said, Walter Berry make it look too easy. He don't even crack a sweat. I need somebody that look like they working hard. And nobody understood that.
So who did they take?
Kenny Skywalker.
Oh boy. Wow. Okay. Well, enough said. That's all you have to say, Walt. I mean, and it's the same guy got you twice,
Yes.
Right? That's crazy. Wow. Yeah. My God. Wow. So, okay, so now you're playing and you're only 7 games into the season and you're off to San Antonio?
Yeah, it was about 7 or 8 games, maybe 10 at best, but they didn't play rookies. That was their thing. And I wanted to play, and I knew I was good enough to be out there, but they threw me in there at spurts. And I guess San Antonio saw me and was like, this guy probably can really play. Let's make a trade for him.
Yeah.
And
then
and I want to just tell you, this is a funny thing. They threw me against Dr. J, who was my idol.
Wow.
I grew up loving Dr. J. That one move he did where he came all the way around the other side of the basket.
Yep.
Man, I ran outside and tried to do that move every day for at least a year straight.
Yep.
But like I said, I got a chance to play against Dr. J, and I scored two buckets on him straight. And I'll never forget Mike Schuler pulled me out. I was so angry. I just was like, after the game, I told the general manager, maybe y'all should just trade me because I want to play.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, it was just like that, huh? You just walk right in and say, hey, that's it. I want out.
Yeah, I just said, hey, maybe y'all should trade me. This is something that ain't working out for me, you know? And I don't even know why they even drafted me, to be honest with you.
Wow.
Because Utah was going to take me at the 15th pick, if I'm not mistaken.
That would have been a good look. I mean, they had a squad. Yep. And you know who got drafted by Utah the year before, right?
No.
Me.
Oh, you got drafted by Utah.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah, but it was late. You know, I don't tell anybody this usually, but it was in the 6th round. They had 8 rounds. I got drafted in the 6th round by the Jazz, and then went to camp. And Del Curry was their #1 pick, Steph's dad.
I remember that.
He got to play the mailman every day in practice. He would come to rookie camp every single day. Thurl Bailey, Mark Eaton, and the mailman every day had a battle with those guys. You know, so it was a lot of fun. And Jerry Sloan, God rest in peace, Jerry. He ran practices and it was brutal. He was, you know, you did wall squats and sitting on the wall and have to sprint, and it was tough, man. And you're playing up there, and I didn't realize it until I got there. I was in the best shape of my life. I went there and I couldn't breathe. I walked across the street, my lungs were burning because the altitude was so different, you know.
A hard place to play there in Denver. I'll never
there
forget.
in Denver. Oh yeah.
Yeah, those places were the harder places to play. So
now you get through a couple of seasons in the NBA with San Antonio, right? What happened there? Because was there an incident when you were hanging out with guys like Mike Tyson, right? What happened there?
Okay. Me and Mike Tyson became friends when I was at St. John's, and he always was a guy who told me that I'm gonna be the heavyweight champion of the world. And I said, well, follow your dreams. And I ran into him at a nightclub, and I said, follow your dreams, man. Everything is possible out here. Because he walked up to me and said, you Walter Berry, right? I said, yeah. So we got to talking, and the next time I saw Mike, he was pulling up at my house with his driver, which was one of my good friends.
Wow.
And he came in a Rolls Royce too, by the way.
I was going to ask you what car he was driving. That was my question. He had the
Rolls Royce. He had the Rolls Royce convertible, and my mother came down. He signed my mother autograph, everything, and I jumped in the car with them, and it's been history from there. We hung out here and there, and you know, we were waiting for his jacket to get fixed. This jacket was like a leather jacket that one of the guys in New York called Dapper Dan's. I don't know if y'all heard of that.
Yep.
He was finishing up Mike jacket that said, don't believe the hype. So we was waiting for the jacket. We sitting in there. All of a sudden, Mitch Green walk in.
Oh, Mitch Blood Green.
And I'm going to tell you a funny story about Mitch Green. I was dating his girlfriend at the time, and he told her, when I run into the guy that you're dating, I'm going to murder him and murder you. That's what he told his girlfriend. And when he walked in, I thought he was coming for me.
Yeah.
Obviously, he came there for Mike Tyson.
Wow.
And we all know what happened after that. They went outside and got the fighting, and Mike beat
That was the night of their big fight. Wow, that was a famous story. He knocked Green out, didn't he?
He knocked Green completely out. But listen, Green got up. After he knocked him out, Green got up and knocked the mirror off Tyson's Rolls Royce. And Tyson told the driver, a guy by the name of Tom, pull over. And we was trying to leave. I said, Mike, let's just keep going, man. And Mike was like, you know what? Pull over. Mike got back out, hit him 2 or 3 more times, and Mitch Green never got back up. And we pulled out. The next thing we heard is ambulance coming.
Oh my God. Wow.
We had to take Mike to Lenox Hill Hospital because he broke his hand and everything.
I remember he broke his hand. I remember.
Yeah. Wow.
And in a press conference, Mitch Green said Dapper Dan was an all-night drug spot, and we were doing drugs in there. And
meanwhile, it was a clothing place with a tailor.
Yes.
Yeah. Man. So then that must have got back to San Antonio and it put you in a spot.
Oh, I was on the front page.
Oh,
and
man.
San Antonio asked me to come back, take a drug test. I came back, took a drug test. Everything came out clean, no problems. And that's when Larry Brown came in at that moment, around that time.
Oh,
Yeah, so
wow.
it all just affected me in one kind of way. And you know, we were just waiting for his jacket to be finished. That's all we were doing in there that
Right.
night.
Wow. How about that, man? Talking about being in the wrong place at the wrong time for that. That's crazy, man.
I remember that on all the tabloids in New York, the Post.
Yeah.
I remember that. I remember
It was a big story.
News.
Yeah. I
Wow.
think it kind of put a dampen on my career because, you know, I've never done drugs. I've never been a fan of drugs.
Mhm.
And I've always kept a clean head, a clean life that I live. And it was just amazing to me how you see people turn when they think something
Yeah.
that's not.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Exactly. The court of public opinion, right? You know, whatever they think it's going to be, that's what they, you know, but
They gotta
perception
sell
is reality
newspapers.
type of thing. Man, it's unbelievable.
They
So-
gotta sell newspapers.
So then when did you decide that you went to Italy and Greece and you were like a hero in Greece, right? So talk about that,
8
how
years.
you got from where you were to overseas.
Okay, my last team was the Houston Rockets.
Okay.
The expansion teams was coming in the NBA at this time.
Charlotte?
Disney World. No, it was the Disney
Orlando?
Orlando
Yeah.
and the other Florida team. I think it was Miami, maybe. I remember it was two teams coming in.
Yep.
And Houston Rockets was like, we got the expansion draft. We got to keep 8 players. We want you to be one of our 8 players. So my agent talked to them and said, well, Walter's up for a new contract. If y'all give him a new contract, we'll stay around. And time passed, the summer passed. I stayed in Houston working out with the Rockets all summer long. And they came back with the same contract that I signed with Portland. And I just didn't want to sign it. And a team came out of nowhere from Spain first and offered me $1 million to come play. And I decided to try it.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's how all of that went after I left Houston.
Now, did you get to play against Prez in Spain too? And John Pannone played there. Presley played there.
Yeah, I played against all of those guys. But the game that I remember playing against in Italy when I was in Italy is Tony Kukoc.
Oh, yeah.
I think I put about 38 on Tony Kukoc up there in Italy, and he ran up to me after the game and said, why are you not in the NBA? I said, I was in the NBA. He said, you should go back. And me and him talked about a little bit of that after the game, but he ended up being great.
Well, yeah, now he's in the Hall of Fame, right? He went in with Jay Wright, as a matter of fact. I was there when he saw him get in. Yes. Wow. Yeah. So talk about playing in Greece because, you know, first of all, you know, you're away from home now. You know, at St. John's, you were really kind of close to your family and everything. You could go home whenever you wanted, basically, you know. But now you're away from home. You're in a foreign land. Talk about what that was like. Plus the fact that you became like the man in Greece. They retired your jersey, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, that doesn't happen a lot to American players. So talk about how you were embraced by that country, because every time I ran into you on the street or wherever we bumped into each other over the years, that's where you were playing when I saw you. You know, everybody knew you were there. And you know, I know people who know you, and we talk and say, hey, how's Walt doing? Oh, he's over in Greece. He's killing it. He's doing this. He's doing that. So talk about that for a minute.
Greece was like home away from home for me. And once I went to Greece one year, I didn't want to go play nowhere else. And I stayed there 8 years in a row. And they just embraced me as a person, man. And the Greek people was warm. They was, you know, but I also gave them fun times on the basketball court.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Little Uzo, little octopus.
The food is great there. The
food is good.
Everything is good. The Greek food. I'm gonna give you something called the bugatsa. You ever heard of that? That's a
Oh, what's that?
pastry. That's a pastry.
Oh, well,
And
we're gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, you got to check the Bugatti out. It's a great pastry that they have. It is so good. You can eat it with chocolate milk, vanilla milk, whatever you decide you want to eat it with. But it was amazing.
Wow. So how long were you there? About 10, 12 years you were in Greece?
8 years in Greece, 3 years in Italy, and 1 year in Spain.
Wow. Where was your favorite place to play when you were overseas?
Greece.
Yeah, by not even close, right?
Not even close. I didn't want to go nowhere else. So I stayed there almost 8 years straight. And then I went on to Italy and played a little bit in Milan. Then I went to Madrid and played in Madrid.
Yeah. So talk about, you have your career in overseas. You got into a whole bunch of different businesses. Every time I talk to somebody, Walt, I heard about a different business you were in. You had a restaurant, you had a hairdresser place. Somebody told me you had. I don't know what was right and what's wrong. So tell me what you did when you got done playing, because I know you were in real estate for a little bit. So tell me what you did.
Yeah, I was always in real estate from day one. And I ended up doing a soul food restaurant in Englewood, New Jersey called
There you go.
Absolutely.
That's a great name.
And you know who was one of my biggest people who came in there and ate every single day was Patrick Ewing.
Oh, really?
He stayed in my restaurant eating, man. He was like, Walter, this food is good, man. I said, come back much as you want, because I was giving him a lot of stuff, and he wouldn't let me give him none. He always, you know, paid when I tried to tell him it's on the house, you know?
Yeah.
Me and him became really friends around that time too, Patrick Ewing, and he ended up being a great guy also, because we was all rivalries. We really didn't talk, and when he walked in my restaurant, I was shocked.
Yeah, I bet.
And we buried the hatchet and became friends on top of that. But I ended up doing a hair salon in Atlanta, Georgia.
All right, I was right. Okay.
I had a hair salon, and guess what I called that?
Go ahead, hit me.
You ready for this one?
Yeah.
Mykonos. I named it after
Mykonos, the island in Greece.
Island.
Yeah.
Named it after the Greek island.
That's a great island too.
So how long did you have Absolutely, first of all? How long did you have
it? I had it for about 5 years. And that's when 2008 came in and everything stock market crashed. People stopped eating out. So I got out of business after that.
And then Mykonos, how long did you keep that?
I kept that for about 6 or 7 years. And I did the hair thing for a while. And it all went well. I just, I got tired and I was like, I'm retiring sooner or later.
Yeah. Now, I got to ask you, if somebody went in there, is Walter Berry cutting their hair, or do you have people that were cutting hair and you were running the show?
No, it was a woman's salon, and what I did.
Well, I was going to say, okay.
It wasn't even a barbershop. It was a woman's salon. My wife has her own salon here in Atlanta also.
Right. Oh,
here. And
okay, I get you. So she's been in that business for a while then.
She's been in that business since she was 18, 19 years old.
Oh, wow. How about that?
He was the Zohan. You don't mess with the Zohan.
That's right. That's right, Sonny. So, okay. So, and then you've been in real estate this whole time too, right?
Yes.
So, listen, that's fantastic.
Still keep moving, Walter. Still got the good moves.
Yeah, man.
I'm relaxing right now. I'm retired. I do a couple of real estate deals a year, and I just sit back, man, and enjoying my new marriage. I got married.
I know. Congratulations. Yeah, we got to meet your wife at the Big East.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
Yep. That's great. That's great. So that's awesome, because everybody always asks, what are you doing? You're not seeing, you don't do a lot of things like this, and nobody, and the people in New York don't know, what you're doing. So I'm so glad that you're successful and you're doing your thing, man. And, listen, what a great story, Walt. We started out talking about, you didn't do great in school. Maybe it wasn't your thing, whatever it was. And now look at you now, man. you know, NBA, player of the year, entrepreneur, restaurant owner, you know, business owner, real estate mogul. You got it all going on, pal. You know, so I'm very proud of you. I'm very happy for you that you've been so successful and come through the things that you came through to get to where you are today. You know, it's a really good story for people.
Thank you, Chuck. Thank you. And I'm writing my book as we speak too.
So, oh yeah.
Look
so
for
tell me about that. Because
tell us
I'm
about
gonna
that.
have to get that. Are you kidding?
I'm gonna start meeting with a guy to write the book probably once or twice a week. And I'm gonna tell my life story because I think is an interesting life story that needs to be heard. Because I've ran into all kinds of people in New York. We talking about the street guys, the boxers, the you name it. I've been around it in New York. You know, just because
I bet. I bet.
You got that dynamic personality and that big smile, man. You and Pearl. You and Pearl have a lot in common.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Listen, you know, we really appreciate you coming and hanging with us. You know, stick around for a minute. I'm gonna close this thing up. I mean, this was one of my favorite ones that we did, Walt. I mean, honestly, you, Danny Calandrillo, and John Pannone were the three guys, right, Sonny, that people asked about the most. You know, can you get Walter? Can you get Walter? You know, and Chris is the other guy. We may need your help on that one, pal. You know, because Chris is elusive, man.
I help you get Chris. Don't worry about it.
My man.
We appreciate that.
We're going to wrap this up, and then we want to talk to you off air for a second. So you've been listening to the Big East Rewind with our special guest, The Truth, Walter Berry. We appreciate you coming out, Walt. The Big East Rewind was produced and directed by Nick Chico Chorus, Daryl Gurney. Check us out on all things social media by putting Big East Rewind in the space bar, in the search bar. And also check out our website at www.bigeastrewind.com and keep up to date on all things Big East Conference. Thanks a lot for joining us and have a great day, everybody.